Welcome to this episode of Back to the Story, where friends come together to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'll be your DM, Klaus. Let's get started.
When you see God's rest surrounded by armies, then know that his desolation has come near.
It is my destiny, not yours.
Really, it doesn't fucking matter if I'm ready or not. I have to deal with the end of the world, and I'm not ready for that.
The reason why any of us are enough for anything is because we have each other.
Everyone can change, not everyone will, but everyone can.
And every day has been beautiful since.
For these are the days of vengeance, to fulfill all that is written.
Yes, I know we all want to compare our god's dick sizes right now.
My glory is to protect. My virtue is sacrifice.
My curiosity is satisfied.
For your sins, I will allow you to seek the knowledge.
Have the courage to do what's right and not what's written.
And God's rest will be trampled underfoot by the heretics until the times of the harbingers are fulfilled.
We've gotten through this before. We can do it again.
You got this.
One more time.
Think so. Okay. Before we get started, I need everybody... let's just have everyone do it. Everyone make a wisdom saving throw.
Oh boy.
Oh joy.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
I love mysterious saving throws in the morning.
I
threw my favorite. Natural 20.
Nice.
29.
You don't need it.
17 for 17.
11.
Oh, I did okay. 17.
And Ball, what did you get? Oh, 19.
Nice. 19 for Ball.
And
Are you hammering your microphone?
Am I hammering it? Oh no, I just write like...
Okay, got it.
Intensity. Alright, are you guys ready to play Dur and Dur? It's Dur and Dur. Alright. So, previously, as the Bronze Scales make preparations for their conflict with the Harbingers, they find themselves in an ancient serpentine temple. After unlocking the puzzle past Yonti guards and poison mist, they walked into a room of void but filled with countless eyes. There Ellery followed the footsteps of the goddess of storm and passion, Voltamari, by sacrificing her eye in exchange for knowledge and power, but becoming cursed in the process. Exiting the temple and then the giant sea snake, the scales swam upwards towards the surface upon bubble wings of Aein, where they found their way through the stormwell back to Nymanet. There they decided to take some much-needed rest through food, wine, and bath. We come back to the story here. After touching base with Amethystis, Ellery teleported the scales to a dwarven manor in the city of Domheim, far beneath the Spine Mountains. There they spoke to Cathin Armvisor, an arcanist of a noble class or house. She and her grandmother's journals detailed expeditions far beneath Domheim into the spinal cord and rotted brain of the titanic Northel. Cathin has ordered your paperwork and now rides with you in a closed chariot pulled by a Felson, some sort of cousin of a Bulette. On your left, you ride past a wall of tiered city skylines chiseled into the stone in a honeycomb wave of glowstone and illuminous lit windows. The dens of so many dwarves on your right. Stone buildings alternate with wrought iron fences, which ride along the vast and open cavern which drops far below. The road spirals down in a ramp along the outer wall of this cavern, like the hole left by a threaded screw. Past the noble marbled Onyxander's Deep, the dark wrought iron of the Domfer Bastille, across Mordune's Aqueduct, and past the loud Quildorian Market into the deepest edges of the city, where you find old mine shafts, mushroom fields, and only intermittent lights. Diverting into the main tunnel of a larger mine shaft, you head towards the Gravelaw mines. As you're traveling, is there anything you'd like to do?
Did anybody need rations or anything? I can prepare to make food and water tomorrow. I don't have it today. But any last minute, we need to go exploring things. I will buy another rope and cut it to pieces for some rope tricks.
I think we still have some rations that we can use before we need to take create food and water, which I can also do, so will be said.
Yeah, I've got some rations.
Cool.
And Felix, you're able to get your rope. Catherine has a small duffel bag in the chariot that has 2 sets of rope, a few rations, some torches, basic exploring equipment you might need. As you guys continue, you begin to head into or towards the Gravelaw mines. I think some of you may be in the sphere still. For those of you outside of it, you begin to see the tunnels are rougher cut. Maybe potential expansions or old mine shafts that were abandoned. The walls are no longer cleanly cut. You see iron gates opened, the patrol of a couple of the hammers, the dwarven guards, as you enter into this area.
I think as we first entered the sphere, Vesper kind of walked right up to the table and sat down very heavily and just put her head on the table. Because I don't have to be strong in front of anybody right now. And just is going to sit there for a couple minutes if no one bothers her.
Amson probably won't right away. He'll probably just go around the orb, make sure everything's in order. In a way, looking around, he'll probably grab Ellery's deck of cards that she keeps in the orb for when people are in here. And then he'll probably go over to Vesper and just stand behind her. All right.
How do you and Ball do it? How are you two so calm all the time?
Not sure.
She'll look to Ball.
Everyone deals with... I keep it inside.
I try, but... Gods, I am scared out of my mind right now.
I don't blame you. Got a lot going on.
I hate being scared because I know I panic and I know I do really stupid shit when I'm scared. Like that saber and I tried to talk to Indigo. And that didn't go well.
Oh, Indigo. I completely forgot about him.
I figured we needed someone with knowledge of the Feywild. Ask about that bow, that harp. And I didn't want to use Marcy because that favor was owed to all of us. He tried to get me to do a deal with him, and I'm not doing it because it's awful, and I'm not doing it.
Felix told me that I don't know if I would make any deals with anyone in the Feywild.
I definitely don't plan on making a deal with him. He asked for a child, which is not happening.
Well, to make sure to tell him that, right?
Yeah. I was able to get out of it then by saying I needed to talk to you because he expects me to have a child for him.
Oh, I see.
So I'll just have to tell him outright no next time.
No deal?
No deal.
No, we don't need it. We don't need his information.
Tell him we got a better offer.
Yeah.
I'm just... I want to know what we need to do for all of these things. I want to figure out what order we need to get them in. I hate how much time it's probably going to take us to find the brain.
Don't worry, we can get all this sorted.
We've made many friends. I'm sure we can ask others.
I'm sure. Just tired of being afraid all the time. Being afraid of what we're facing, of losing you, of dying. And I know Ellery just made an incredible sacrifice, so I don't really want to be whining about the fact that we might all die, and Felix doesn't give a shit, so it's just hard. And
Empson's gonna place his hand on Vesper's shoulder, and he'll say, well, think about it this way. After this, there isn't going to be anything that will be able to scare us.
I hope not. I wish I had your confidence all the time.
Sometimes I don't think it's confidence. Sometimes I feel like I just say the most optimistic thing. And sometimes it sounds very stupid.
It doesn't. Like I said, you're both calm and confident, and I think I need that every once in a while, so.
Oh, got Ball and I here. Or however long this trip is going to take.
I love you both.
I think Ball just maybe puts his hands on both your shoulders and just kind of says, me too. And worst case scenario is things don't work out, we'll still have each other.
Love you too, Ball. You're always there for us.
Shall we play cards?
Sure. I have no idea what we're going to play.
Meanwhile, Ellery is up in this carriage chariot thing, awkwardly not making conversation with Felix.
A very comfortable silence for Felix, where he is trying not to stare at your eye patch.
Yeah, I think I periodically just not really paying attention to Felix looking at it, but just keep adjusting it, trying to get the placement perfect and get used to wearing it.
As you guys are having these conversations or not having conversations, you travel through the city and eventually exiting the city into sort of the outskirts, past what looks like some sort of dwarven farmlands, these mushrooms being grown as crops perhaps, and into this abandoned mine. As you enter in it, you see the stone begins to change, darken. You see what looks like obsidian. Some of the tunnels are collapsed. Others look like they tried to work into it before giving up. Continuing in, you see gates, clearly just added on to the furthest area of these mines, wrought iron. You see guarded by hammers as the chariot comes to a stop. In Dwarvish, your escort, Cathan Armvisor, speaks to the other dwarf guard, shows him some papers before he points you forward, and you continue on past these gates. And then you can begin to see down this tunnel, which narrows. You can tell just by how narrow and limited these trails and tunnels are that this stone is hard and difficult to work through. Ahead you see a threshold and a gate, larger, maybe 10 feet wide and about that high, of some sort of almost a wall of this obsidian. It's not nearly as clean cut as the other parts of the city. It's rough. They could just cut a hole through it instead of cleaning it up. You see there's a few more hammers. You ride up as the chariot kind of turns to let you all out. A supply dock of sorts, crates, sacks of food, and various other mining equipment kind of piled up outside the gate as Cathan exits and gestures to Felix and Ellery to do the same. She again speaks to someone, one of the hammers in Dwarvish, who leaves for a moment, leaving one guard there. And after a minute or two, another hammer approaches. This one with a emblazoned carving onto the breastplate he wears. Clearly an officer of some sort, who opens up the gate and lets you into the outpost itself. Entering in, you can see it's pretty heavily guarded by these hammers, these dwarven guards, and you enter in to a gallery, an interior courtyard, about 40 feet wide, 40 feet long, and maybe only 30 feet tall or so. Pillars surround the courtyard, as there is a walkway forming a square, both on the first floor and then a balcony above, where you can see the entrances to various rooms and chambers. In the middle of this courtyard, you see chains, mining equipment, and on the other side, a double-gated entrance further into the Gravelaw mines. A few hammers kind of watch from above as the officer kind of gestures you all to the side and into a nearby administration room, where he seems to be pulling out these, not paper, but thin slate, and begins to make markings, discussing with Catherine. After a moment, Catherine steps to the side, and he looks at you two, Ellery and Felix, gesturing for you to step forward.
I will do so.
So, do you wish to enter the Gravelaw mines on your own volition?
Yes, we have need to find something beyond it.
Fair enough. The details are not my concern, but I do want to make sure I warn you fairly of what the Gravelaw is, what we use it for, and what you might come upon. Instead of for crimes that might justify death and execution, some we simply do it on the spot. For those that are dangerous enough, others we send down here, so that they can serve the remainder of their lives mining, collecting, charting, or they die. That is why it is called the Gravelaw. It is the law of execution. So, beyond those gates, you'll find prisoners, most of them convicted of murder or other violent crimes. But beyond that, there are creatures. Bullets, felsin, goblins, drow, if you go deep enough.
I wanted
you to be aware of what you are getting yourself into before I let you in.
I kind of nod along to what he's saying and carefully avoid making any comments on what I think about this system.
Was Felix going to say something?
I was just going to say yes, so go ahead.
Well, if you're convinced, I'll need to have the names of you who enter, so that when you return, we'll be able to confirm your identities to allow you back if you indeed do return.
Of course. There's myself and Ellery, Felix Paleth. We have 3 others. They're in a transportation means we have Ball the Giant, Vesper the Air Genasi, and another half-elf named Amson. In case you want to write that down, I know you haven't seen them, in case we're not the ones coming back.
On his slate tablet, he does indeed write down the names and the visual descriptions you give him, as well as those of yourselves who stand before him.
And the others, will they be heading here shortly or later?
Don't worry about them. They're with us.
What do you mean by with us?
I have a ball in my pants that's bigger on the inside. This is why I didn't want to explain it to you. Trust me, they're with us.
His eyes dart back to Catherine, who gives kind of a knowing glance and nods.
All right. Well, as long as you and Catherine can assure me that you will not use whatever this bully is for smuggling prisoners out, then this will suffice.
Ew, I look like someone that would let a dwarven prisoner into my home?
You look like a foreigner. Now, if you're ready, we will let you through the gates. And when you return, state your names and we'll let you back.
Thank you, will do.
Of course. Catherine has assured us, the Hammers, of your standing. I hope you understand the formality, but the prisoners on the other side of the gate, he says as he's walking you back into the courtyard towards the double gates, the prisoners on the other side are not to be trifled with. They have killed citizens, so security is tight.
Well, we're no strangers to murder, so don't worry about it.
Well, he nods above to the balcony as some dwarves begin to crank open the first layer of the gate. Well, I wish you luck, and I hope to see you again. And he gestures for you to enter through the gates.
I just give him a nod and don't say anything else as I walk through.
Okay. As you begin to walk in to that sort of hollow tunnel where there's a gate on each side, Catherine kind of comes up behind. Well, I do indeed wish you luck on your journey, and if I can be of assistance, I will remain here. I'm not sure how fast I could get to you or what I can offer, but if I can offer assistance, please reach out. I was informed you do have means of contacting.
We do, and honestly don't expect us coming back through this way. Most likely we'll teleport out. If we find anything concerning, though, that your people should be aware of as we go, we'll let you know.
Thank you very much.
I'll try and mail your notes back when I have a chance.
That would be much appreciated. Thank you. She gives a very tight bow, very shallow, but formal. As you guys enter in, the gate that was open now comes down before the exterior gate begins to crank back up, revealing sort of what you saw getting here, this sort of just abandoned mine shaft that never got too far. See a few collapsed tunnels, and otherwise it looks much more just like a rough cave exiting into the dark. You hear the trickle of water down below, and unlike the outpost and some of the tunnels where there were some torches or other glowstones or moss that kind of lit the way dimly, there are no lights down here.
I kind of turn to Felix and say quietly, "Didn't we say we weren't going to go into any more prisons?"
Yeah. We really suck at this, don't we?
Yeah. Well, at least we're not in chains, so there's that.
And presumably this one isn't laced with anti-magic runes preventing our escape.
Presumably. Maybe we should have asked about that.
Too late now. Should we call the others out now that we're out of the carriage? No offense to you, but I think Ball has a better chance of us, not getting beat up in prison. Though, if you have any recommendations of what we should do, I'm glad to listen.
Well, I'm not that bad at staring people down, but he is a more obvious deterrent.
Does it look like Ball will be uncomfortable through the initial caverns, at least?
Not initially, though you're limited by your sight. Initially, probably is okay.
Alright, I'll think to Ball. Alright, well, we're in prison again. If you guys want to come out and we'll see if we can push through the prison into the caverns below.
You can only communicate with one person at a time now, right?
Only those who have a magic item, which right now is just you in there.
Okay.
We've dealt Pinot into the game, by the way. I don't know if he can play, but
actually, during the carriage ride, Felix was enjoying what wine was left in Pinot, so technically this one's a Merlot, but who's counting?
So Ball will kind of he'll like pause. Maybe you'll hear like Ball say like and then Ball will kind of get the attention of Vesper and Amson and say, they're in a prison now. Felix would like us to go help them.
Good, because I was just about to lose to you, Ball. Let's go.
You see, like, Ball looks at his cards again, and then you see him finally put 2 and 2 together and be like, damn it, I was about to win. We're on our way.
So you guys exit out of the sphere one by one, concentrating in order to do so, coming into a half-abandoned mine. Looks like this is about as far as they got before they gave up trying to dig through the obsidian, with a gated outpost behind you and dark caverns in front of you. What would you like to do?
all right. How do we want to take the marching order? I know we said either myself or Felix at the front and back at all times, because we can't be surprised. Do we want Ball in the front or Ball at the back, since the tunnels are fairly narrow?
Well, this may be a DM question. Would following the notes and map we have be more of a, like, survival-ish thing, or is it more perception-based?
Probably more survival in general.
Alright, so, Vesper, why don't you have a better sense of direction than I do? Why don't you lead, and I'll stay in the back and keep an eye out on things.
Perfect.
I propose Ball go behind Vespa this time.
I'll go.
Maybe you want to be in the middle, or I?
I'll take the middle.
And then I'll be back by by Felix.
Do we know what we should be keeping an eye out for? And then Ball kind of says that, and as he's looking around, he's like, just kind of like a moment of awkwardness. Sorry.
I just reach out and pat his arm. You know, I would have said that myself sooner or later.
Presumably first we just have to push through where the prisoners are mining. Hopefully we can get through without engaging them. I hope, Ball, you will be enough of a deterrent just on sight.
Do we want to be seen?
I don't think there's a point in sneaking. I think we should have torches or lights, and we're going to travel fastest if we can follow this route and see where we're going without getting lost.
I'm going to cast light on my holy symbol and then activate the Cobra Hood, which has a little prismatic.
I think Ball will put on the ruby crown to try to look more important or intimidating, and then turn that on as well to get some light.
Everybody just kind of walk tough.
I look at Amson.
Ball just walks with like a constant flex.
Amson like holds up his noodly arms.
Okay, some of us just walk tough.
Give yourself a leather jacket. Like the studs.
Alright, Amson will focus for 60 seconds as we're walking and turn it into a leather jacket. Like studs on the shoulders.
Oh my God.
And then it'll be like,
that,
I don't know if this really
Amson,
goes as my style.
It does not help. It really doesn't.
It's very flattering, though.
Samson's bad boy, Danny Zuko. Anyway, Vesper, if you're going in front, and I will pass you the mood ring. I don't really know what it does
specifically yet, but it detects some creatures.
Perfect. I'll slide it on. I was just going to say before we go, I think we already discussed that we're sacrificing stealth for speed. Because we want to get through here as fast as we can.
Yep.
So everyone stay alert. And pull out the map.
Okay. And so you guys are, I think you have your marching order, Vesper, Ellery, Ball, Amson, and Felix in the back. Something like that. You have at least a light source from the holy symbol of Vesper and Ball's crown. Are any of the others using torches or lights, or just going to use those sources? Those sources should work for most of you, unless you guys spread out. And then you guys are not being stealthy. Are you kind of going at a normal, not stealthy pace? Are you trying to rush or just not go slow?
A brisk speed walk.
I think, normal pace, at least at first. But we're just not being stealthy.
Gotcha. Okay. And Amson sounds like he's up towards the front as well. Okay.
No, it's that Amson's towards the back. Ball is ahead of me.
Okay. Not bad. So Vesper, Ball, then Ellery, Amson, and Felix.
Yeah. And I think, I'm not sure how much this will matter for your purposes, but I think Ellery's probably going to stick more towards the right side and have Amson be more on the left side, since she can't see that way.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. So you guys are traveling through this sort of abandoned mine that gives way nearly immediately into just caverns. After not too long, you guys, maybe 15, 20 minutes moving down this tunnel, you can see there's a few support beams here and there that are hanging on, or some of them are just fallen at this point. You can see some light coming out from the left. It's like there's either a tunnel or a cutaway to the left with some light coming out. Moving along as you get closer, you can indeed see there is a tunnel that kind of heads down that way. Some light shining through there. You can see the source of it. And you hear a few voices from down that way. And I got really busy, so don't hate me, but I meant to have this whole journals basically given to you guys, but I wasn't able to complete it in time. So, but the general sort of expedition route that she took was through the Gravelaw mines, eventually coming upon a old abandoned outpost to some doors maybe a long time ago, that's been abandoned for a long time, eventually making their way through a forest of mushrooms, and eventually to a ancient and strange city. And from there, found some devices. The last journals were having them going back to that city, to this ancient, strange city, filled with buildings of strange angles and runes, and that was where the expedition left off. So she left to go back there and never came back.
Well, I am following the map exactly, so if it doesn't say to go down the tunnel with voices, I'm not going there, and if it does, then I am.
Okay. It doesn't say to go down there. So you guys continue through this collapsed tunnel. You eventually can hear or begin to see where that trickling water is coming from. There's a small trail of it that leaks out of a collapsed tunnel into a small, not even quite a creek, just a small trail of water that runs down. You eventually follow it into a through these tunnels where you, at times, especially Ball, have to kind of turn to the side and shimmy through. This stuff would all be considered difficult terrain. You're having to climb up and down these various caverns. This isn't like a Skyrim cavern where it's basically you just walk in a circle. It's vertical, up and down, side to side, crawling under things, but eventually opens up into a larger cavern. You can see the water pools into a small pond, maybe. It's maybe 40 feet in diameter before it trickles over the side into a waterfall. You can hear the water And it's not a rushing waterfall, but it's sort of a trickling down the side. You can hear it falling into water below. Who's ever leading, give me 2 perception checks. One from 2 separate people.
I will do one since I'm in front.
I'll do the other from the back.
Okay.
21.
14.
Okay. As you travel into this room, 14, both of you can hear a sort of this clicking sound coming from the left cavern. Looking in that direction, you can't see anything, but you hear this kind of clicking occurring on the ceiling, actually, or wall to the back left, and you hear a response across the room to the right. And Vesper, you can actually hear they begin to slowly creep in your direction, the clicking.
I'm going to grab Pinot, and I'm going to think to Felix. I'm going to be like, so they're coming closer.
Yeah, I think we should just get ready.
I really hope it's not like those things that we fought under Nymanet with the eyes that put you in a trance.
Well, I'll speak aloud. We have company. We might be able to scare them off if we can get brighter. And I will summon Aeon, this tiny 5-foot dim light shit.
I'm so tempted to just cast daylight just to flex, but...
I haven't used this in a while, but I'm going to just pull up Firebolt into my hand.
So as you prepare and cast your light and prepare fire, the rest of you can now kind of hear that clicking to both sides. And it sounds like there's a few more sources, maybe, or maybe it's just echoing off the walls, but you hear this sort of...
Can you
along. Yeah.
Can you describe the layout of the room? I want to be able to move into a somewhat better position if we're all bunched.
It's hard to tell because of the limits of the light, but essentially this is a much more open room than previously, which is why it's kind of hard to know the dimensions. The ceiling ranges from 10 to 30 feet up. It is wide enough to where you can't see the edges of it. And you can't see, you can kind of see where the edge drops off, below. So it's maybe you don't know the full dimensions to the left and right, but ahead it's maybe 60 feet or so before the drop off occurs and some of the water trickles over the side. There's a few areas where water is kind of dripping from the ceiling and stalag whatevers are forming on the ceiling and floor. But other than that, it's pretty open besides the pool.
Okay. I just want to get in front of Amson and Ellery, kind of if I'm off to the side, whatever is more in front of where the noise is coming from than they are.
There's noises coming from the left and the right.
Then I will look at the left ones and bring up my shield.
Yeah, I'm kind of fanning out a little bit, not getting too far away from anybody, but just instead of being the straight line, spreading out a little bit towards the right.
Yeah, I'm going to cast light on Pinot and then set him back down.
Can I throw a beacon of hope on everybody?
And Ball will cast Blade Ward on himself and just kind of position himself like everyone else did.
Okay. You hear that clicking kind of creeping a little bit closer, but then stopping. You can tell they're moving along maybe the walls or the ceilings to left and right. But don't get close enough to enter into the edge of the light.
Do we have a torch with us that's currently being lit, or is it just all magic sources?
That's up to y'all. I think I just heard magic sources.
Just magic sources for now. Can I send Aeon towards the sound?
Yeah, you certainly can.
Yeah.
And
float his little head.
Okay. Are you looking through him or just sending him for
I'm
some
just
light?
sending him. Yeah, he's a little ball of light. It's not much, but I want to see if we can get eyes on the thing.
Okay. You begin moving that little light in that direction. As this occurs, Aeon moves up towards the ceiling, and you see the edge of something like a long tail of white chitin, thin. It's maybe 10, 12 feet long, segmented chitin tail that ends in this hook barb. You can see it's attached to a body that's sort of long and hanging from the ceiling with hooks. As Aeon moves towards it, it doesn't seem to register its presence. This strange creature, if you imagine like a panther, just the skeletal system. But instead of bone, it's chitin. It's an insect, this long creature attached to the ceiling with this long scorpion-like tail, kind of slowly drifting from side to side. The head itself seems to have no eyes, but has these antennae that are kind of twitching from side to side, pointing them in y'all's direction.
And I will just whisper to the group, all right, looks like they're blind to probably tremors or sound.
Ellery has a thought, if I can remember how this actually works. So, at the, how far are we from the water?
Roughly maybe 15, 20 feet, something like that.
Okay. Can you remind me again of the dimensions of the cavern that we're in?
You're not sure where the edges are. You haven't seen the edges to the left or the right, but it's about 60 feet from where you entered, upwards or forwards to where the water drops off. You're not sure how wide it is, but it's about 20 to 30 feet tall. Rough terrain, and then a pond that kind of pools at the edge of the cliff before it falls over the side.
Very quietly to Vesper. Do you know which way we have to go through this tunnel, through this cavern?
I do. It's insert direction here.
Forward. You follow. It seems you follow the water trail for a while.
Dead across along the water.
I can distract them to go on the opposite side of the cavern about as much as 30 feet.
I think I know what you're talking about, and I can do the same. Do we want to do it together, and then we can really distract them?
Sure.
Give time.
Okay. So
And I will hold up my hand to signal when we can go.
Yeah. So I cast Thaumaturgy to 30 feet or so away from the water when Vesper signals.
So, yeah, and I'll do the same thing because I'm basically also casting, so we do it at the same time.
And to create harmless tremors in the ground.
Just for timing purposes, you'll give me like a spell casting ability check. So wisdom or charisma.
Sure.
Okay, 12.
13.
Oh.
Okay. You're
not like
a little
an attack, right? Like it just with our...
Yeah, just a straight ability check. So you aren't perfectly timed, and one's definitely louder than the other at first, but pretty straightforward. Both of you cast this, and there's tremors and rumbling. Almost sounds like voices to one side. And these creatures, or at least the one you can see that's being illuminated by Aeon, with these, you realize now as it begins to along the ceiling, it has like these scythe-like hands that are attaching to the ceiling, turn in that direction. Sounds like maybe 2 or 3 on one side and 1 on the other. Go away from you guys in the water towards these tremors before you hear them leaping from the ceiling down to the ground, where you hear slashing wildly at what they perceive to be a target. What do you guys do?
Run. I'm actually going to say, okay, Ball will do it again. Just wait. Let us go across first, and then you follow. We'll do it twice.
Ball nods.
Okay. So the small ones run across as fast as we can.
Okay, you run across, you get to the edge. And how far is your dark vision with the hood?
With the hood, I believe it's 60 feet.
Okay, you can't see the bottom. You can hear the water hitting below. It doesn't sound too crazy far, but it's further than you can see.
And then we'll time it again, and I'll have the signal for Ball to come run at us, and we'll do it again.
And you can hear as you ran across. Give me one more check.
Okay, for both of us, I'm assuming.
Yeah, presuming you're holding these trimmers up long enough to distract them.
That's less good. That's a 10.
15.
Okay. One of them, as Ball, the heavier, is running, some of the tremors and thaumaturgy coming from Vesper's side aren't as loud compared to the running, sprinting of the remainder of your party, and one of them is kind of peeling off in your direction. You can hear it is back on the ceiling in your direction, but you've all made it to the edge of this cliff where you can hear the water rolling over the side and landing some way down below. What do you do?
Vesper, we gotta go down?
We gotta go down, right?
Follow the water.
Yep, we have to go down.
Everybody down.
Use Amson's flying staff.
Yeah, I was just gonna say...
Jump. I've got you.
Ellery jumps.
All right.
Everybody?
Jump.
Yep.
Alright, and I will pull a scroll out and featherfall as we go.
Okay, so you guys leave off the side, and as you're falling, Felix, you quickly pull it out and read the incantation as all of you suddenly slow and drift down along the water. It's not too far down to where those with dark vision and the light sources you can see another pool of water at the bottom where the water is landing. You can look up and just catch like the last edge of one of these creatures kind of hanging over the edge, looking down at you as you guys begin to land down in the water that is pretty shallow. It may be deep in certain spots, but as you land into the water.
Poor Vesper's all wet again.
It's fine. It's just in my boots. I'll put the glowing wine bottle down on the ground.
You can hear these creatures kind of beginning to move back on the top of this edge and are starting to kind of crawl down the walls towards you.
Okay, let's go. I pick Pino back up.
I mean, he can fly.
I let him go. Like one does a bird. It's just...
like putting this poor winged creature, like slamming it on the ground, picking it back up.
That's like I'm setting him down.
Okay, and are you guys, as you're beginning to take off, you can hear these creatures pursuing you. Are you guys sprinting or jogging?
Sprinting, right? We want to lose them.
Yeah, if we come to a point where it narrows again, I may try and do something to slow them down.
And if we like pass any sort of side passages, I'll toss a thaumaturgy over down whatever way we don't go.
So we'll do a abbreviated skill check to throw these creatures off. So you can kind of say what you want to try to do, roll a check, and see, and if you can get, we'll say 3 successes before you get 2 failures, you will have thrown them off enough. So did you want to try some of these things as you're kind of sprinting forward, difficult terrain? The water is a deeper creek now. Some other water has joined it from a side tunnel as you're kind of moving ahead and can hear these creatures moving along the walls and ceilings behind you. Do you want to attempt the thaumaturgy, or Felix?
Yeah.
Do you want to find a narrow spot? Okay.
So is it the same thing that we did before with the...
Yes, but with proficiency bonus this time.
Okay.
So basically a spell attack.
16 this time.
Okay. As you're running along, you can see kind of some side, not quite tunnels, but like almost cracks in the obsidian to the left, throwing a thaumaturgy briefly down there and continuing to run. You can hear as the thaumaturgy... Yep.
Thaumaturgy does last for up to a minute, so it can be rumbling for a while behind us.
For a while. So as you're continuing to sprint, about a minute or two later, as it dies down, you can still hear some skittering behind you, but it looks like you cut off maybe half of them. There's maybe one or two still remaining, chasing you. And there are areas now that you're following this water where it gets tighter or more narrow. What else do you guys want to try?
Felix, you said you had an idea?
Yeah. I had an idea. Now I'm seeing if I can do something without using a spell slot. I am gonna call Pino back to me and grant myself spider climbing. And I'm gonna try and slow down a little bit, but also go on the wall where there is one. And I'm gonna try and slow down, hopefully someplace still, I don't know, high-ish. I'm going to try and knock one of these creatures off the wall to the ground to hopefully prevent it from following.
Is that like with a spell, or how are you
I
doing that?
literally was going to use the repulsion shield, so I was going to let it whack me and try and force it off.
Okay. So you slow down enough for one to kind of catch up, and now that it's moving quicker, you can hear those sides just into the stone as it rushes along the side of the wall towards you. This kind of skeletal chitin, elongated form. You can see the tail whipping behind it. Do you want to make a spell attack maybe with this to use that repulsion shield?
I will do that. 16 plus 26.
Yeah, as it rushes up to you and you see this sharp, presumably poisonous, almost scorpion tail beginning to launch towards you. It gets right up next to you before the shield, and then boom, blasts back, and you see the body tumble backwards off the wall, falling 20 or 30 feet before rumbling to a stop on the stone. You can hear it starts to slowly get up, maybe limping, definitely throwing it off. And there is one remaining as Felix begins to catch up to the group.
Well, I will also try the thaumaturgy trick then.
Okay. Make one more check as you are searching for a side passage long enough to throw thaumaturgy down. Yeah, so like a spell attack at this point.
Okay, that's all right. That's a 15.
Okay. As you're rushing along, you find a side corridor. You notice it as you're running, or all of you do, because there's a bit of light coming from it. This kind of dim, reddish light, throwing thaumaturgy down that. You can hear the kind of clamoring of the creature stop, almost be confused, moving this way and that, with so much sound and sensory input. It can't really tell which way you're going or what's going on, and it slows down enough for you guys to pull ahead. About a minute or so later, after the tremoring dies down, and you've continued to run, you no longer hear these creatures behind you. You do hear the water that you're following is larger now. Not a river by any means, but a larger trail. And you hear water louder ahead of you.
I'm going to check the map and make sure we're still on the right course.
Yeah, so it looks like you follow this water until you reach the old abandoned dwarven, either town or outpost or something like that.
Alright, do we mind taking 10? Trapped underground in a lot of water has me nervous, and I would like to give us water breathing just in case. So, we will. If everyone's okay with that, take 10, and I will ritually cast water breathing.
Good time to catch your breath.
Underrated joke of the session. So y'all can certainly take 10 for Felix to do this. Are you guys doing anything else? As you kind of slow down, catch your breath, and let Felix cast?
Panting heavily, sweating a little bit.
Just double checking, triple checking the map, making sure I know exactly where we're going in case we do have to run again, that I can kind of memorize the route.
Yeah, looking at the map, it looks like there is notes about a bridge or a chasm of some sort. Doesn't seem like it's too terribly long before you reach the ruins of whatever dwarven town or outpost this was long ago. And from there, you then follow, it looks like an old dwarven trail until you reach the mushroom forest.
And about how long? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to basically say, with how long it's taken us to get here versus the descriptions of the notes, can I kind of figure out how long it's going to take us to get to where we're going? Are we making good time?
Make an intelligence check.
Shit, okay. Not stupid, but it's not my best stat. Well, 6.
Her notes explored a lot of the side caverns that y'all basically ran past, and it's hard to say exactly what percentage you are into the trip. Her expeditions, multiple ones across many journals, explored so much more that you're just kind of sprinting past, trying to expedite this. You're not really sure yet, because you're still not sure how far this outpost is.
I'll table that for now.
I wonder if any of the prisoners have taken up residence in this old outpost, old town, or whatever it is.
Well, presumably they would need some kind of source of food. I imagine the only reason they work in the prison is in exchange for supplies to live, which would mean they would have to stay fairly close.
Makes sense.
If there is anyone there, I would be cautious because they know how to survive.
Possibly a good resource, maybe a good source of information, but also presumably pretty dangerous.
If everyone's ready and we've got the water breathing, I know which way we have to keep going, so.
Yes, we are prepared if there is a collapse, and we all should not be able to drown, at least for today.
So you guys continue following this water trail. And all along the way, as you go 15, 30, 45 minutes and getting into an hour, you can hear water ahead getting a little bit louder. Eventually, you can kind of hear the echo of water falling, but also louder water, almost rushing, like maybe a slow rolling river. As you exit one of the tunnels and kind of out into a large cavern. It's hard to really tell how big these is, but it's big enough to where you can't see the ceiling. This sort of outstretch shift of the obsidian goes out, stretching into the cavern for maybe 40 feet before stopping as you find the edge. Make some perception checks for me.
Oh boy.
Dirty 20.
17.
Are we all doing perception?
You can all do it for this one.
8.
18 for all.
15.
Okay. As you guys look around trying to get your bearings a little bit, Ellery, you notice the water kind of continues forward before you notice it pools a little bit before dropping off to the right. It falls. It's hard to tell how far, but much further than the last time. Over the edge of this sort of cliff face, you can hear water in a more larger river sounding, rushing down below, kind of slowly tumbling down multiple waterfall steps. Felix and Ball, as well as Vesper, you notice lights in the distance. You see there's sort of this empty cliff and on the other side, you can see a few lights. Not many, just like 1 or 2 light sources. That's maybe 150, 200 feet away on the other side of this chasm. Vesper, you notice all this as well. In addition, you also notice, you hear the kind of clinking of metal chains coming to your right, sort of swaying to the right.
Someone's here. And I'll turn and...
Is it like swaying, or is it like of a person, or like a bridge?
Oh yeah, that would be the
Vesper,
kind of
you hear the sound kind of to the right, but you also hear it at different points out across the chasm. So you can't see, but you can hear that.
Vesper turns down.
Never mind. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, if I could hear it different places, then I would understand what's going on. I think the bridge is over there. Let's see if it's structurally sound.
We've had good luck with bridges in the past.
Ellery, stay in the middle. We all laugh. Felix looks lost.
He honestly wasn't paying attention.
Exploring in the direction of where Vesper heard the chains, you do indeed see a stone kind of anchors platform on this side of the chasm, where you see chains leading to a bridge that spans across the chasm. Thick, heavy chains where it looks like the planks are of maybe stone or some sort of strange wood, reinforced with looks like metal. This looks like a pretty heavy-duty bridge, large platforms, though it does look old, rusted in spots. The bridge itself is maybe 8 feet wide, and you can't see the end of it, but judging on where the light source is, it's maybe 80 feet long.
I'm just gonna tug the chain a bit to make sure it's taut all the way across, that there's no, nothing feels weird right away.
Seems to be pretty taut, and each chain length, the sort of diameter of each piece of metal, is maybe 3 or 4 inches. This is pretty heavy-duty chain.
Ball's gonna look at Felix and kind of look down at his boots and say, so how do these work again?
Click your heels together, Ball.
Okay, maybe I am the heaviest. If I can make it across, should be okay for us. And if I can't make it across, then I will click my heels.
It's quite a ways. You want to go the whole length on your own.
It was how long? 80 feet or?
Yeah, something like that. Can't see the end of it, but yeah.
It's better if I make sure it's safe. I can get back quickly if I need to.
What if there's something waiting on the other side? I'm not sure I want any of us going across this alone.
Well, if Ball has a light on, then we can see him the whole way across.
If you'd like, Pino could come with me.
He can.
And then, what I think Ball would like to do is he wants to start crossing it. And as he does so, he's going to kind of keep an eye out for, if he notices something that looks like it might be unstable, what he would like to do is kind of turn on the boots early. Kind of like if he notices something's about to give, turning the boots on early before everything were to collapse or something to that effect. And then he would try to cast, he would look for the point of weakness and try to cast mending on it. That's Ball's game plan.
Okay. So right now you're just going to ease across, kind of looking out for any weaknesses.
Yeah, and as soon as I feel like my weight is not being held, then I will try to really, be as light as a feather and start flying.
Okay. So as you're moving across, why don't you give me a perception or investigation check as you're moving across?
I'm going to use my advantage for the day, or the inspiration for the day. All right, that's a 19.
Okay. So you move along, kind of testing the first steps, cautiously testing your weight. You can hear and feel the chains tighten You can hear the sound of metal adjusting, and eventually begin to take steps out, holding onto both sides of the rope, just in case, or both sides of the chain, just in case as you move across. You get 10, 20, 30, you get about 40 feet across, and you hear something. Not the chain straining, but you hear rustling, the tumble of rocks. You're not sure from the other side. About 60 feet across and to the left of it. Can't see as far beyond your light, but you heard something. You're not sure what.
Now, I know that there's some kind of, my understanding is there's some torchlight throughout here across this bridge, or is it all pitch black and it's just my light?
So there's your light, and on the other side, there seems to be 2 faint light sources.
Okay, I'd like to and I'm about 40 feet away from those light sources? Or is it further?
It's further. So it's maybe 60 feet to one, 80 to the other. You can see it illuminates like the outline of a structure or rock or of some sort. It's hard to tell from here.
Do you a quick divine sense? Do I get a sense of anything in that vicinity? And in particular, that anything would be celestial, fiend, or undead?
Nothing.
60 feet.
Nothing in 60 feet.
All right, I think Vol will continue with this plan and just kind of look out in that direction. Kind of peer over in that direction and see if... Just kind of on guard, essentially.
Sure. So as you continue across the bridge, the last feet, it's maybe 90 feet across. You get to the other end where the other anchors of the chains are, and you can begin to see, with your limited light, some buildings. They're short, stone structures that's like bricked in places. Many of them look collapsed, broken, and old. You're not really sure how old, but old. You keep a lookout for any noise, especially in the direction where you originally heard it, but you don't yet hear any. The closest light source seems to be coming from a building to the right. It looks like it was 2 stories, though the second story looks half destroyed, no roof any longer, and then the other light source is a bit further.
And at this point, I have made it across?
You have made it across, and you're seeing kind of the ruins of a old building structure. Looks to be made by dwarves, who knows how long ago.
And I guess how far away am I from the closest light source?
You may be 30 feet or so.
I would like to cast control flames on the light source I can do up to 60 feet away. So whichever light source is the furthest away from me, but as far as 60 feet away, I would like to, assuming it is non-magical flame, I would like to double the area of bright light and dim light cast by the flame, just for a moment, as if it was flickering, and then return it to what it normally was with a second action. And when I do so, kind of use that opportunity to kind of scout out the vicinity if that extra light helps reveal anything.
Give me a perception check.
That's a 6.
The light brightens from the building. The light source is actually on the bottom floor in what looks like a room. It brightens enough to where you can see this ruined structure, light cascading out of the windows. You can see a bit of stairs that lead up to this kind of roofless, half the walls are missing second floor. And you can briefly see around these old ruined buildings. Looking around quickly, you don't see any movement before the flames kind of die back down. The rest of you on the other side notice that light kind of get brighter for a second and then get dim.
I'm going to, assuming he's within 120 feet of me at this point, I'm going to cast message to Ball. Is everything okay over there?
New phone, who dis? Ball says, I think I heard something to the right of the bridge, but everything seems quiet. Maybe too quiet, but I don't know. The bridge seems stable.
I will
meet you halfway.
Okay, I will cast it again and say, all right, we're coming over. And then not mute myself before saying, turning to the others, all right, let's head across. He heard something on the other side, so we should be careful, but at least the bridge is stable.
Well, with the lights, I'm sure it's occupied.
Amson's going to make sure that he has the levitating staff in his hand before they start walking across the bridge.
Okay. Ball is still going to do this. I mean, Ball said he was going to meet them halfway, so even if they continue going, Ball, as he's kind of making his way back to the middle, he's going to take out his, he's got I think I called it a thick rope kit, something like that. A good rope kit is what it's listed on there. I think it's supposed to just be like a thicker rope. And just as he's walking back, he's just going to like kind of tie it into a kind of like a noose in case it's needed for some heroics, and then just kind of continue walking towards the middle of the bridge.
Okay. And it was everyone, the rest of y'all going across it kind of at once? Okay. You're able to travel across the irons of the chain, not struggling as much under your weight, but eventually as you move across, you begin to see Ball on the other side, holding his rope just in case, before you all can make it to the other side.
When we get back together and start heading the rest of the way across, I say, so do we want to introduce ourselves or just pass by? Pretend they aren't here.
I say we pass by unless we have to introduce ourselves. And then try and look non-threatening. But let's not invite trouble.
Does the map say anything about this place?
I think this is probably the outpost, right?
Do you want to take a second to consult the journal?
Yeah, just while we're walking. I've been like having it propped open and like reading, walking.
Yeah, so this does appear to match the description of this dwarven outpost. The dwarven people here seem to be, they did some research here, staying for probably a few days. Seem to at some point be called the Bainar. The stone, according to the journal, this settlement seems to be very old, maybe founded before Domheim was, by the Umbach prior. Though it notes there have been likely several different inhabitants since then. Since the dwarves originally founded it have been long gone. It notes goblins one time, and then a collection of drow another time, an incident with a Ulani it refers to. Not sure if that is a people or an individual, but a drow of some sort. How thoroughly do you kind of inspect the outpost, or are you just kind of moving through it?
I believe we're moving through. Yeah, just kind of trying to avoid where there are lights, but I don't think.
Sure. As you're moving through it, it mostly looks abandoned. There are sections, as you're moving through these streets is a strong word, areas between ruined buildings where you see numerous arrows. They're impacted into old, half-rotten bodies, half buried in soot, rubble, some of them embedded into the ground or even into some of the structures as well. I get a lot of arrows in areas. There's one doorway that seems to be made out of that strange wood that the planks were made out of, where there are numerous arrows, and the doorway is kind of half broken. There does seem to be some sort of center to this outpost, where it looks like maybe there was a well. Maybe this is just a center area for the town, and it's really more of, if you imagine it full of people, wouldn't be bigger than a village, wouldn't be able to hold more than 1,000, maybe 2,000 at a maximum, which is the number of buildings here. But it seems to be abandoned as far as you can tell.
So these bodies that are around, how old do they seem to be? And can we tell what kind of bodies they are?
You can inspect some if you'd like.
Yes. I'd probably stop seeing dead people.
Okay. Walking up to a couple, they are smaller. They're only maybe 3.5, 4 feet tall. Large, all black eyes. It looks like most of the flesh has either been rotten or picked off. Some of the leathers that they're wearing and clothing or armor seems to remain enough to tell that they were wearing something. Mostly skeletal, though. You see the arrows are made of bone, hollow, that are sticking into these individuals. If you want to know more, you can give me either a medicine or investigation check.
Try medicine. 24.
These are a little bit smaller than halflings. Larger than gnomes, though. Probably goblins of some sort, judging by their skull and their large eye sockets. And I'll also say, judging by the number of arrows in these bodies, you see each one has maybe 8, 9, 10 arrows in each body. This was a flurry. Whatever came through and killed them. As you move through, you see numerous bodies. With that medicine check, you said 24?
24.
24.
Natural, then.
These bodies are pretty old. You'd guess at least 6 months, maybe older. It's hard to know. It looks like some of the bones were chewed upon by creatures of some sort or the other. And you're not sure how much was scavengers and how much was just natural decay, but these are fairly old bodies.
It is hard to tell because we're underground. Things don't decay the same down here as they do up top, but at least 6 months. That doesn't fill me with confidence that whatever did this to them isn't still here.
And we'll keep an eye out for whatever these creatures are, just in case.
I can always ask when it happens.
Let's not. I don't think we really need to.
Keep going.
Okay. Continuing through this ruined outpost, you come to the other side, the edge of it. At this point, the journal notes get a little tricky. You're no longer following a creek, which is pretty easy to do. The other side kind of leans into a cavern, but then it quickly deteriorates, and it looks like there's multiple different paths. Someone give me a survival with advantage to kind of consult the journal and try to figure out which way.
Alrighty. Well, that's the same number twice, so that's a 26.
Okay. It takes a minute to compare between the journals. The expedition crew multiple times explored each of them at different times and places, and the writer of these notes, while having a good understanding of history, clearly wasn't a cartographer, so it takes some comparison, but you eventually, it seems like the right corridor, though more narrow, seems to be the one you want to take to be the quickest route to the ancient city, which is sort of the, to the mushroom forest and then to the ancient city beyond.
That one. I know it's narrow, but do we want Ball maybe be more comfortable for you in the sphere, and we'll let you out as soon as we get to wider areas? I'm sure the mushroom forest isn't too tightly packed in.
Yeah, Paul will say, You know how to find me if you need me. And Ball will kind of nod to Felix. I feel a little uneasy about this place. I think we're just used to more light.
Before you go in there, you want any company in there, or should the rest of us just stay out here?
It's safe inside, I should be okay. And yeah, Ball will go in the sphere.
Alright, so Ball enters the sphere before you'll head down these more narrow corridors. I know we started at a weird time. Did y'all want to do a break? Does this seem like a good time to do it? What do you guys think?
I mean, timing-wise, it feels appropriate, but...
My abacus out. Okay, sounds good. Oh, you guys in a few.
Next time on Back to the Story.
From a distance, it looks much more natural, but as you get closer, you can see this was definitively carved. The cavern expands far enough to where you can't really see the end of it. And inside of it, upon the floor, are numerous rising mushrooms. Some rise 10, 20, 30 feet in various places. Different fungi.
This episode is continued in Part 2, which uploads Friday and will be available wherever you're listening now. For behind the scenes and more, check out our Tumblr, back-to-the-story at tumblr.com, and follow us on Twitter for updates at back2_the-story. And if you're feeling especially generous, feel free to buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/backtothestory. We'll see you next time in Northville.